"You are not on the list." The man's voice rang out, even and sharp like a scanner. No need to check again, no need for explanation. He had made his decision with just a glance. Zahara Wynn did not react. She opened her bag, took out her Emerald Executive Membership card along with her first-class ticket, clearly printed with her name. Then she silently placed them on the table. No one apologized. They called for another person, then another. They whispered, locked the screen, entered internal codes. In their eyes, she was a system error that needed to be dealt with. 5 minutes later, the flight was delayed because the woman they were trying to remove from the gate was the one who had approved the design of the very aircraft they were trying to prevent her from boarding. "You don't belong in that seat." The sentence wasn't shouted. It didn't need to be. It was delivered flatly, like a fact, not an insult, but the sting landed just the same. Zahara Wynn didn't blink. She simply shifted her weight from one foot to the other, her left hand still resting on the sleek handle of her luggage, the other offering a boarding pass as if she hadn't just been told once again that her very presence was out of place. The agent didn't bother making eye contact. His name tag read Tyler, crookedly pinned to a navy vest that matched the strained professionalism in his voice. His fingers moved lazily across the keyboard, his eyes still glued to the screen. "You're not showing up in the system," he said. "Maybe you're at the wrong terminal." Zahara didn't move. "I am not," she said calmly. Tyler gave a tight-lipped sigh, as if she were the fifth inconvenience in a line of minor tragedies. "Ma'am, this line is for first-class passengers only." The way he said "ma'am" wasn't out of respect. It was a scalpel, dull but deliberate. His glance finally lifted, but it only skimmed her. It didn't take in the structure of her tailored navy blazer or the smoothness of her leather tote. His eyes paused for a fraction of a second on her skin, then dropped again like a weight. Not a flicker of recognition, not even curiosity, only dismissal. Behind her, a white man in a beige quarter-zip muttered to his wife, "Every damn time." His wife smiled politely at Zahara as if to say, "Don't take it personal," but it was personal. It always was. Zahara didn't flinch. She simply opened her tote, pulled out a slim black envelope, and handed it across the counter. It had no logo, just the silver-embossed name of the company she built from the ground up. Skye Aerospace, executive access only. Tyler hesitated. "What's this?" he asked, his tone clipped. "Scan it," Zahara said, voice steady. He scoffed under his breath, but did as instructed. The scanner blinked red for a moment, then turned green with a soft chime. "Validate, Emerald Tier, CEO Priority Access." Tyler stared at the screen, then at the envelope, then at her. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. "It must be a system glitch," he finally muttered, stepping aside stiffly. "You can proceed." Zahara said nothing. She picked up her luggage and walked past the counter, each step as quiet and deliberate as a clock hand moving forward. Inside the first-class lounge, she was met with a soft hush, the kind that follows power, though half the room hadn't yet realized who had just walked in. Some looked up briefly. Some didn't. But a pair of Japanese businessmen seated near the espresso bar stood up slightly when they saw her. One of them whispered, "Zahara Wynn." That. His colleague gave a nod of recognition. "She's flying to Haneda? She's probably visiting the Tokyo plant." Zahara heard it. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her name was the calling card. Her legacy was the resume. She took her seat near the glass wall that overlooked the tarmac. From her position, she could see the Skye-engineered Falcon Jet 12T preparing for boarding. A machine built under her leadership, a machine that most people in this lounge would never know carried her signature etched inside the fuselage, hidden between composite layers, not for glory, but for continuity, for legacy. Her phone buzzed. Marla, executive assistant. Update: Tyler Graham had a flagged incident in 2022. racially biased boarding denial. He was retrained. Want me to escalate? Zahara stared out at the jet, then typed back, "No, don't fire him. Just make sure he knows whose aircraft he's processing today." Meanwhile, at the check-in desk, Tyler's hands trembled slightly as his headset lit up. "Tyler," it was his supervisor's voice, sharp, cold. "Do you have any idea who that was?" He swallowed hard. I just thought her pass was fake. She didn't." "You thought what?" The silence on the line said it all. "You just turned away the CEO of the largest aerospace corporation in the country, the one who literally built the aircraft that's scheduled to depart from Gate 47A in 35 minutes. A bead of sweat rolled down Tyler's temple. "Sir, I didn't know." "Exactly," his supervisor snapped. "And that's the problem." Back in the lounge, Zahara's phone buzzed again. Another message from Marla. Media outlet at LAX tweeted about an incident at Gate 47. No names yet, but it's circulating. She let the screen fade to black, then looked down at her boarding pass one last time. Seat 1A? It wasn't just a seat. It was a statement. They hadn't built it for women like her, but she was the one who made sure it could fly. Zahara Wynn didn't expect a welcome. She didn't need one. But she also didn't expect the boarding gate to go dark the moment she stepped into Terminal 6's first-class lounge. "Apologies," the gate agent said quickly, eyes flicking to the side. "Technical update, should be back up soon." Zahara had seen that look before, the kind that said you're too early or too black or too confident, maybe all three. She turned to Marla, her assistant, who had followed in just behind her with a rolling bag and a folder of briefing notes. "Check the departure screens." Marla walked over to the flight board. After a few taps, her face tightened. "They pulled your name from the priority manifest," she said. Zahara's gaze didn't change. "And the others?" "Still listed." "Let's fix that." She approached the counter calmly, heels silent on polished marble, posture straight like a steel rod beneath her navy blue coat. A second agent had joined the first, they whispered as Zahara approached. "Yes," the taller one asked, clearly knowing who she was and clearly hoping she wouldn't make it a scene. "My name is Zahara Wynn, first class, seat 2A. The system dropped me." He feigned confusion, brows knitting with exaggerated concern. That's strange. Let me check." Zahara said nothing. She simply placed her boarding pass on the counter. He scanned it. The screen flashed. "In manner passenger no match." He smiled politely, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm afraid there's been an issue with your reservation. Would you mind stepping aside while we—" "No." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I'll wait here." The other passengers watched. Some whispered. One man in a Patagonia vest pulled out his phone. Another woman, white, early 50s, dripping in Hermes, clutched her pearls a little too theatrically. From the lounge corner, a junior staffer approached the desk, holding a clipboard and a Bluetooth earpiece buzzing low. She glanced nervously at Zahara, then leaned toward the agent. Zahara heard it. "She's not supposed to board yet. I think we're waiting for clearance." "From who?" Zahara asked, sharp as a scalpel. The girl froze. "Excuse me?" the agent asked. Zahara turned to the junior staffer. "I asked who gave the order to pull my name from the list. I just follow security protocols." "Then get the one who wrote it." 10 minutes passed. The room grew tenser. Then Gregory Holt appeared. Airport director. Thin, sweating, tie loose. He weaved through the passengers with the energy of a man who'd just been told he'd made a critical mistake. "Miss Nguyen," he said, approaching fast. "There's been a misunderstanding." "No," Zahara replied. "There's been an intervention." He opened his mouth to deny it. She raised a hand, stopping him cold. "You removed my name from the priority system on a security directive. I'd like to see it." Greg fumbled with his tablet. It's being reviewed. Zahara stepped forward, just a fraction of an inch. Here's what you're going to do, she said, voice low. You're going to restore my boarding access, publicly, at this desk, in front of everyone who just watched you try to make me disappear. Passengers turned. Some of them had already been recording. Greg looked into her eyes and realized he had just tried to erase the wrong person. 15 minutes later, the announcement echoed through the terminal. Ladies and gentlemen, boarding will now resume for Flight 4A to New York. First-class passengers beginning with Seat 2A, Miss Zahara Wynn, may now proceed. Not a single person moved when Zahara stepped forward. They watched her, some in awe, some in shame, a few in quiet fear. Greg held the scanner. She handed over her pass. Rain. She didn't say thank you. She didn't have to. As she walked down the jet bridge, a flight attendant waiting at the aircraft door straightened up quickly. Welcome aboard, Ms. Wynn, she said, her voice a little too crisp. Zahara nodded, then turned slowly, looking back into the tunnel that led to the gate. She knew what had just happened. They didn't want her gone. They wanted her quiet. But Zahara Wynn didn't do quiet. She did precision, and every person in that terminal had just heard her name broadcast before anyone else's. The one they tried to hide had just been placed front and center. That was the first lesson, and it wouldn't be the last. Zahara Wynn sat in 2A, eyes steady, back straight, arms folded. Not a single wrinkle in her coat. Not a single flicker of emotion on her face. But in her mind, something was moving, faster than the taxiing plane beneath her. The soft click of the boarding scanner still echoed in her ears, not because it had failed, but because someone wanted it to. She opened her phone, logged into her Skye internal comms, typed a message to Marla. Confirm if my manifest flag was internal or TSA issued. 2 minutes later, the reply came. Not TSA. Flag originated in airline backend. Category: Tier verification override discretionary. Zahara's lips pressed into a thin, cold line. She knew what that meant. It wasn't an official block. It was a soft tag, a hidden administrative flag that allowed staff to pause, reroute, or verify a passenger if something about their profile seemed inconsistent. That word again, inconsistent, which was corporate code for, she doesn't look like she belongs here. Zahara took a breath, then requested access to the airline's partner API. She still had it, because Skye Aerospace built the cabin systems for this very model of aircraft. And part of that included secure interoperability, the ability to test back-end data in real time. She wasn't just on the manifest. She helped write the damn protocols that created it. And now someone had used her system against her. While the cabin settled, Zahara opened a hidden interface through her internal console and began checking passenger data flow. Seat 2A cleared? AC cleared. Skye Access Tier Emerald CEO. Then she saw it. A tiny red subflag. Verification required, match incomplete, ID looks suspicious. Zahara narrowed her eyes. There it was. The algorithm she'd helped create to prevent fraud and ensure national security had been manipulated manually by someone who didn't think she matched her own credentials. It wasn't code. It was bias dressed in backing language. She copied the entry, pasted it into a new report, tagged the source, Terminal 6 Workstation 442L, Agent Tyler G. Of course it was. Mid-flight, she requested to visit the cockpit under protocol observation rights. The captain granted it, quickly. She didn't go there to interfere. She went to remind them. She built this ship. After reviewing the console layout, as was her right under Skye's ongoing QA agreement, she returned to her seat and drafted a system update proposal. It was a single-line patch. If user matches 3 of 3 secure credentials, override all discretionary flags. Notify executive compliance. No one could ever be soft-flagged again under visual suspicion if their data was perfect. She named the patch Z1, Manifest Integrity Override. She didn't yell, didn't call a press conference. She just changed the rules and sent the patch to every airline Skye partnered with, over a dozen global carriers, with an attached executive note. This is no longer optional. When the plane landed, the gate crew at JFK were waiting, not with the red carpet, but with silence. They knew. They had seen the alert. They didn't know how she changed the system mid-air. They just knew it would never work against her again. And not just her, because Zahara Wynn didn't fix it for herself. She fixed it for every person who looked like her, moved like her, walked into first class and got stared at like a glitch. Gate 78A at JFK buzzed with quiet energy. The red-eye back to LAX was boarding late, but no one seemed to mind. Not when the cabin roster looked like a business summit. Zahara Wynn arrived just as Group 1 was called. As always, she didn't rush. Her presence did the talking. What she didn't expect was the seating arrangement waiting for her on the aircraft manifest. Seat 3A, Zahara Wynn. Seat 3B, Peter Langley, VP, Passenger Systems, Horizon Air. Coincidence? He had no travel bag, no laptop, just a leather folio. Zahara raised an eyebrow. Marla had already confirmed earlier via back channel. He's on this flight for you. Directive came from Horizon's legal team after your system patch went live. They're not ready to challenge you, but they want to understand you. Understand? Meaning what? Zahara boarded with her boarding pass scanned silently, the agent smiling, just a little too tightly. Once seated, she acknowledged Langley with a slight nod. Miss Wen, he said, tone even. Mr. Langley, she returned. No handshakes, no small talk. The silence between them was louder than most conversations. After takeoff, as the cabin lights dimmed, Langley broke first. I imagine you know why I'm here. I do. He shifted. The patch you submitted, C1, it's powerful, necessary, yes, but abrupt. Abrupt is how it feels to be erased from a system you helped build. Langley didn't argue. He opened the folio and pulled out a single printed page, a screenshot of Zahara's manifest entry from 2 days prior. The red flag still visible. This shouldn't have happened, he said. But the agent, Zahara, turned to him, her voice smooth as cut glass. This wasn't about an agent. It was about an assumption, the kind your system doesn't flag because it was designed by people who never needed to worry about being flagged in the first place. Langley exhaled. We'd like your help. Officially, we want to create a new protocol for identity consistency, built with your team. You don't need me to build another system, she said. You need me to teach yours how to see people it wasn't built to recognize. He paused. That landed. Later in the flight, as Zahara looked out the window, Langley asked softly, how do you carry it? Carry what? This weight, always being watched, judged, filtered. Zahara stared into the clouds for a moment before answering. I don't carry it, she said. I weaponized it. As the plane descended into LAX, Langley folded the folio and said, you just rewrote how we handle trust in our system. You didn't ask. Zahara met his eyes. Oh, don't ask to be trusted. I engineer outcomes that make doubt irrelevant. He nodded once, slower this time. I'll see you at the summit? No, she said. You'll see my team. I've said enough. Now they speak. And with that she stood, collected her bag, walked down the aisle like a lesson they weren't ready for, but would never forget. The terminal was unusually quiet for a Monday. Gate 53, early afternoon. No drama, no headlines, just routine flights and muted announcements. Zahara Wynn had intentionally flown under the radar this time. No first-class lounge, no pre-boarding, no press. Just her in a small black carry-on dressed in a soft slate-gray trench coat, standing at the far end of the concourse near a coffee kiosk. The flight wasn't hers. She wasn't scheduled to board. She was only here to observe. 10 feet away, a young woman stepped up to the check-in counter. Group 5. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun. Worn sneakers, community college hoodie, passport clutched tightly in both hands. She looked barely 20. Zahara noticed her immediately. Not because she looked like her, but because she looked like she had something to prove and nowhere to say it. The gate agent scanned her pass, then frowned. I'm sorry, he said gently. We'll need to verify some things before you can board. Could you step aside for a moment? The girl's shoulders stiffened. Is there a problem? She asked. The agent shook his head too quickly. No, just standard verification. Randomized. Zahara's eyes narrowed. She stepped a little closer, but not too close. She didn't intervene. Instead, she opened her phone, pulled up the internal Skye Systems interface, tapped into the terminal's boarding API, typed in 2 things. Passenger Jordan A. Carter. Flag. Visual override triggered. Manual verification requested. There it was again. That same silent filter someone thought they could still apply. Even after all her work, even after all the memos and patches and policy meetings, even now, Zahara tapped the screen again. This time she entered her access code. Admin override. A message flashed on the terminal's internal display. Z1 protocol engaged. No anomalies, verified, clear. The gate agent blinked, confused, as the boarding pass in his hand lit green. Looks like it cleared, he said. You're good to go. Jordan Carter looked surprised. That's it? He smiled awkwardly. Yeah, just a glitch, I guess. Go ahead. She walked slowly through the gate, still processing what had just happened. Zahara watched. Didn't move. It didn't say a word. She just stood there with her phone in hand, the override key still glowing faintly on screen. Another notification popped up a few seconds later. Override recorded. Your patch has been activated 1,327 times since rollout. 47 of those in the past 24 hours. Most of them just like this. She read it, paused, then closed the app. She didn't need a round of applause. She didn't need the system to know she was there, because the system already ran through her hands now. Not loud, not declared, just embedded. As she turned to leave, a Horizon Air operations manager spotted her. Ms. Wynn? We didn't know you were here. Can we offer an escort or? Zahara simply shook her head. I'm not here to fly. He tilted his head. Then why? She looked back at gate 53. The boarding door had just closed behind Jordan. No reason, she said, just checking the gates still open. And with that, she walked away. No press release, no name drop, just a quiet exit, and a legacy written into the code. Zahara Wynn didn't just challenge the system. She rewired it, and when she left, she made sure the door stayed unlocked for the next one who came after her.